A teenager arrested in connection to Sunday's mass shooting. Why his lawyer says the evidence doesn't tell the whole story.
There's a long way to go.
Plus, many still questioning the lack of police response before the deadly gunfire. Why some say the police shortage was a big part of the problem. BPD considering using drones to assist police in specific situations, the concerns on privacy, and the role they could play in officer safety.
It has the potential to save lives.
My brother was not a bat-wielding maniac. He was a husband. He was a father. He has 3 children who don't have a father.
A continued fight for justice 1 year after police say a squeegee kid killed Timothy Reynolds. The message his family has for young people across Baltimore.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
We begin tonight with breaking news. A shooting victim found in the parking lot of Pikesville High School. Baltimore County Police say they found a woman slumped over her steering wheel there. She was pronounced dead when officers arrived.
They found the body around 7 o'clock this evening. Now, this is an ongoing investigation. We'll keep you updated on air and online as the search for suspects continues. Our other big story tonight, an arrest is made in Sunday's mass shooting in Brooklyn Homes. I'm Kai Jackson.
Anti-Maxine striker, a 17-year-old in custody tonight in connection to that shooting that killed 2 people and hurt 28 others.
Now that arrest is reigniting calls for more action on juvenile crime in Baltimore and across the state.
We need to do something fast, quick, in a hurry. Juveniles understand that nothing will happen to them.
Well, this is what we know right now. Police still searching for suspects. 3 people still
police response may have been dialed back. Keith?
Well, Kai, that expert believes BPD was facing the same problem that so many other police departments are facing across the country tonight, and that's simply the lack of staff. It's a scene that police and the people of Brooklyn Homes in South Baltimore won't soon forget. Evidence markers dot the block where bullets flew, leaving 28 people wounded, 2 others killed during a block party where hundreds gathered. A mass shooting last Sunday. Tonight, taking a closer look and listen at how BPD responded before arriving at that deadly scene. Ted Golden.
It's only a handful of cops. The consequences could be dire.
A former Memphis police officer and retired federal narcotics agent helping us navigate the timeline of when police knew about the gathering and how long it took officers to respond. Right away, Golden says police knew they were outnumbered.
When you're outnumbered, when you don't have adequate support, when you don't have literally hundreds of police officers to be able to help to protect and serve, not just the people who are in danger, but the officers themselves. There's a safety issue.
The timeline. Before 11 o'clock Saturday night, dispatch audio revealing Baltimore police knew a crowd of up to 1,000 people was gathering at Brooklyn Homes. Some in the crowd growing concerned about their safety.
Discharging a firearm, 8:15 Herndon Court, people shooting and fighting at the location, anonymous caller.
One officer heard asking dispatch if there's backup.
Platform right here, any other units?
And a sergeant saying not to go toward the crowd alone.
And we're coming, Fox is overhead. You're not going to the crowd by yourself.
What you have to realize is this is when law enforcement goes into an area, especially with a large number of people who may not necessarily like them, the result could be more chaotic than to sit back and wait.
In the wake of the shooting, police staffing has been called into question. The Baltimore City Police Union tweeted this week saying just 7 officers were patrolling the Southern District at the time of the event. As of June 29th, the Baltimore Police Department telling us they have 527 sworn vacancies. A significant shortage, says Golden, when faced with situations like what they saw in Brooklyn Homes.
The numbers of positions that are open in most local police departments is unfathomable. We can't protect and serve when our numbers are so low.
Well, according to the police union, there are about 600 officers assigned to patrol spread across the city's 9 police districts. That breaks down to about 10 to 14 officers per shift, per district. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Well, City State's Attorney Ivan Bates arguing that recent changes in state law are contributing to the rise in violence among young people. Fox 45's Jeff Abel joins us live with Bates' message about revisiting crime legislation tonight. Jeff?
That's right. The state's attorney believes the new juvenile justice reform laws are actually in desperate need of reform themselves. Critics say it gives a soft pedal approach to some of this state's toughest teens. It's the largest mass shooting in this city's history, and as police search for the killers, there's growing concern that they may not fully be held accountable.
And to be honest, I think it's one of the worst pieces of legislation I've ever read.
On Fox 45 Morning News, State's Attorney Ivan Bates insisted that Maryland's new Juvenile Justice Reform Act is itself in desperate need of reform.
If a juvenile has an illegal handgun, the longest that they can be on probation is 6 months. 6 months. What services can we give a kid in 6 months?
In fact, the new law, which lawmakers passed last year, is aimed at providing services, not lengthy sentences, to juveniles who commit crimes. According to the new law, if the most serious offense the child commits would have been an adult misdemeanor, the maximum penalty is 6 months probation. If the most serious offense the child commits would have been an adult felony, the maximum penalty is 1 year probation. And any child under the age of 13 may not be charged with a crime.
So they cannot enter into an entire life of criminality, and they can understand the consequences for their actions.
Not only have we not addressed crime, but we've actually taken steps in the opposite way.
At some point, you have to say enough is enough and make sure that there is accountability.
While lawmakers hope the new law will prompt more services for offenders, gun policy expert Zach Smith says it doesn't allow enough time for offenders to receive them.
If someone, particularly a young person, is out on the street with a handgun committing violent acts, they're going to typically need intensive intervention. And so the more time they're in the system, the more time they're able to get the resources.
The state's attorney insists the new laws are far too lenient and predicts more violence to come.
But what I will tell you is we need to do something fast, quick, in a hurry. Juveniles understand that nothing will happen to them.
And prosecutors say the new laws give them no flexibility in determining the outcome of many of these cases. We are live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Jeff. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates isn't the only one sounding the alarm about Maryland's juvenile justice laws. Earlier this year, a 15-year-old identified only as Baby K was arrested after police say he tried to kill another student on a school bus in Prince George's County. At the time, the county police chief and Democratic County Executive Angela Also Brooks spoke about the laws and changes. Specifically, the chief took issue with the Child Interrogation Protection Act, which states law enforcement can't speak with any child until they've spoken with an attorney. The chief says that prevented him from even questioning Baby K.
Are you able to question Baby K?
The answer is that we could not. Those protections have given way to a protection of some people who have committed very heinous crimes, which, yes, that does hamper what we are doing now.
It's becoming more and more difficult to hold juveniles accountable.
In Anne Arundel County, more of the same. Early this year, police put out a 7-page list of crimes they say were committed by children under the age of 13 who can't be prosecuted under current law. In Howard County, the sheriff told Fox 45 News state laws keep his deputies from holding kids accountable.
Basically, a lot of things that unfortunately young people find themselves getting involved in, police can no longer take action.
2 Maryland mass shootings this week, leading to calls for a special session in Annapolis to address gun violence. Senate Minority Leader Stephen Hershey says Democrats in his party didn't take action on bills which would have put repeat criminals behind bars and made possession of a stolen firearm a felony.
But the fact that we can't even get these bills a vote in the Judicial Proceedings Committee is telling us that people don't want to fix these problems. There should be outrage from the community against their elected officials on why these types of bills are not moving forward.
Senate President Bill Ferguson telling Fox 45 News he doesn't think more gun legislation would have prevented what happened in Brooklyn.
From what I gathered and saw, somebody that is willing to carry around a gun and then shoot up 30 people or several individuals, whether or not there's a new law passed in Annapolis isn't stopping that decision.
When it comes to special sessions, they're commonplace throughout the country. In the past 365 days, 25 states have held a special or extraordinary session covering a wide range of topics.
Looking at some of the reasons for them in Pennsylvania, lawmakers extended the statute of limitations on sexual assault cases. In Washington, a special session tackled stronger penalties for illegal drug possession. In Idaho, the largest tax cut in state history was approved, along with more funding for education. And in South Carolina, lawmakers are criminalizing fentanyl trafficking. All this as Maryland's Capitol remains closed for the summer. On Tuesday, we asked you if you think Governor Westmore should call a special session to combat violent crime. 93% of people who responded voted yes.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, the lawsuit against BGE over gas regulators will go on despite the utility company's request to have it dismissed. What happened in court today? Today marks 1 year since police say a squeegee kid shot and killed Timothy Reynolds near the Inner Harbor. We hear from Reynolds' family and take a look back at what happened that year.
The unsettled pattern continues as showers and storms impact the region over the weekend. I'll let you know the timing of the storms and when we get a break from the rain coming up.
Coming up at 10:30 tonight, Baltimore police consider a new policy that would bring drones to scan crime scenes. Some say that would be an invasion of privacy. A closer look at both sides of this issue. A judge has rejected BGE's request to have a lawsuit dismissed. The class action lawsuit filed against BGE over installation of external gas regulators in Baltimore. A restraining order on that installation has been extended to 60 days. The decision is also pushing back a hearing on the injunction from next week to early September. More than 400 Baltimore residents have joined that lawsuit against BGE. Many say they had their gas wrongfully shut off and weren't even given a clear explanation as to why the regulators were necessary.
It didn't add up, and we found it very difficult to get clear, definitive answers to why it was needed, and every neighbor was told a different story.
In a statement to Fox 45 News, BGE confirms it will comply with the court's decision, but the company says the work was reviewed and approved by the Maryland Public Service Commission and granted a permit from the city.
Today marks 1 year since the death of Timothy Reynolds, allegedly shot and killed by a squeegee kid after a fight near the Inner Harbor. His family saying they'll continue fighting for justice.
This is just a man who was murdered in cold blood on the city streets of Baltimore that he loved so much.
During last July's incident, police say Reynolds got out of his car and threatened the squeegee kid with a bat before he was shot.
And that deadly interaction is causing widespread discussion over how to crack down on squeegeeing in Baltimore. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has the fallout a year later.
At the corner of Light and Conway today, family and friends of Tim Reynolds stopping traffic, taking a moment to remember Reynolds at the spot he was shot and killed.
A year ago today, right behind us, my brother became Baltimore City homicide victim number 186.
Reynolds killed July 7th, 2022, after what police said was a heated dispute with a 14-year-old squeegee kid. A bloody baseball bat left lying in the street that afternoon.
Keep spreading your magic on us, brother.
Today, family acknowledging this story sparked a widespread debate over race, crime, and accountability in Baltimore, appearing to tell their side of things.
My brother was not a bat-wielding maniac. He was a husband. He was a father. He has 3 children who don't have a father.
Today, family choosing not to address the looming trial for the teen now charged with first-degree murder in Reynolds' killing. Court filings allege that teen may have gang ties, and still photos from the moments leading up to that fatal confrontation appear to show a squeegee kid retrieve a gun from a backpack. For decades, certain Baltimore intersections were known for the squeegee window washers, some arguing the teens were just looking to make a few bucks, others sharing stories of unwanted interactions with squeegees, things sometimes escalating to violence or damaged cars.
We love you, Sam.
Reynolds' family today seeming to point towards city leadership for not taking action on squeegee corners.
This didn't have to happen. There were no preventative measures done, and then that lack of preventative measures turned into the biggest tragedy of our lives.
In the years since Reynolds' death, Baltimore was forced to face the issue of squeegeeing head-on, undergoing a squeegee collaborative and banning squeegeeing at many intersections. Today, Reynolds' family back at the corner of Light and Conway, saying Baltimore's crime problem needs to change, with a message for young people citywide.
If you understood how final death was, you put the guns down. You can't bring these people back. And this is the end result. This is the result. This is what you have left. A mourning family, children without fathers.
Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Defense attorneys for the teen accused of killing Reynolds argue the shooting was self-defense after Reynolds charged him with a bat. His murder trial is set for next Monday, July 17th. It's expected to last about 2 weeks.
A big change coming to Baltimore's police district in just a few days. What will be different and how it will impact you?
We've been dealing with an unsettled pattern over the past few days. We've had spotty showers and storms and hot temperatures. That pattern continues tomorrow. We're still seeing a few showers and storms across parts of the state, but after midnight we dry out. Then more storms tomorrow and again on Sunday. I'll let you know the timing of the storms and when to expect dry weather in my full forecast.
South Carolina is emerging as a pivotal primary state for both Republicans and Democrats.
President Biden in the Palmetto State yesterday pitching Bidenomics. The National Desk's Angela Brown sat down with a Republican candidate trying to take his job.
The South Carolina primary could be make or break for both parties. It's the first primary for the Democrats, and for Republicans, the winner of the South Carolina primary has gone on to be the nominee, except 2012. A backyard brawl in South Carolina. The president pitching Bidenomics on Thursday. South Carolina Senator and GOP presidential candidate Tim Scott pushing back.
The one thing that President Biden should do is start an apology tour, apologizing to the American people that the Biden economy has failed.
No apologies from the president, instead boasting about policies including increasing the child tax credit, an infrastructure bill that many Republicans supported, including South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham.
I'm not here to declare victory on the economy. I'm here to say we have a plan that's turning things around quickly.
Even Morgan Stanley economists are backing off predicting a recession, but Senator Scott pointing to other numbers he says are hurting American families.
Right now, inflation is going down, home building is going up. For the Biden administration, they can run on that.
The cost of buying a home today versus when he started in office is up about 50%. The average American family has lost more than $10,000 in spending power since he's taken office.
The number varies about American spending power lost, but analysts say it's in the thousands. As for President Biden, he's a clear frontrunner for the Democrats. Senator Scott, the opposite. The latest Fox poll puts Scott at 4%, far behind former President Donald Trump.
How do you close that gap, bring those numbers down if they're legit?
I don't think much about polls. I think about people.
Well, the people of South Carolina have the final say. South Carolina Republicans are eyeing February 24th as their primary date. If history repeats itself, the winner is more than likely to go on to become the nominee. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
The Baltimore Police Department looking for public input on its plan to use drones to scan crime scenes. We have a closer look at both sides of the issue.
A polarizing 4th of July tweet turning into a PR headache. Coming up, backlash against a popular American ice cream company.
We're following three big stories at 10:30 tonight. Hurricane season is in full swing, but some people can't insure their homes. Why companies are denying coverage.
New Baltimore police districts will go into effect this weekend. Why the department is making the change and questions about the timing.
A Baltimore Police Department is also weighing the use of drones in some situations. The transparency concerns as public comment is underway. Tonight, our team of reporters is looking into the changes on the horizon at BPD.
We begin with a plan to use drones more actively in police response, but there are some legal concerns after a similar plan was deemed unconstitutional. Fox 45's Vincent Hill joins us live with the latest. Vince?
Yeah, Maxine, you could soon see one of these flying around your home, but there's concerns of what it may see as it's looking down on you.
It's a new tool BPD is hoping to implement in their fight against crime. A drone, essentially an all-seeing eye in the sky.
But it's not the first time the department has had something watching from above. A few years ago, a spy plane circled the skies of Baltimore.
We are an unbiased witness to potential crime.
But the program grounded because of concerns over privacy, according to its director, Marshall Bell.
A program which is designed to help officers solve the crimes that are wreaking havoc on some parts of the city. Because of politics, we're going to end this program.
BPD says the drones will be used for evidence collection in high-risk situations only. Attorney Kirk Nachman addressing those previous concerns of privacy.
The yard area of your property that's open and exposed to the public, you don't have an expectation of privacy. For example, if the police walked by or drove by and saw some sort of illegal activity or, illegal weapons or things of that nature, they would have the ability to observe that without obtaining a search warrant. The same would hold true for the use of a drone.
But he says there are protections from illegal search and seizure.
For example, if you're in a SWAT situation and a camera pans next door and sees a drug lab, that would be protected by the Fourth Amendment, or should be protected by the Fourth Amendment.
For SWAT situations and barricaded suspects, amazing to have.
Law enforcement analyst Melissa Pinkleton says drones can play an important role in officer safety.
While SWAT is the most trained in a police department, they're human too. And sometimes they mess up and sometimes they miss things, and it has the potential to save lives.
And can catch what the human eye doesn't when collecting evidence.
There are mistakes made at every single crime scene. So a drone can help in that aspect as far as, hey, did we miss anything?
Meanwhile, BPD is taking public input until August the 6th. The policy was drafted with the assistance of both the Department of Justice and the Consent Decree Monitoring Team. For now, we're live at BPD headquarters. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
All right, Vincent, thank you. Baltimore police also choosing to encrypt radio systems and devices. Now, instead of being able to listen to scanners live, the public will only be able to access audio streams on a 15-minute delay through the online platform Broadcastify. BPD says this move will help the department focus on officer safety and connect them with other agencies that already use encrypted devices. Opponents argue the decision infringes on the First Amendment and police scanners should be public information.
In less than 48 hours, Baltimore's new police district map will go into effect, but there are some concerns around the timing of the transition. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell has the story.
When the clock strikes 7 a.m. on July 9th, the new boundaries that make up the Baltimore Police Department's 9 police districts will officially take effect. A change years in the making, now finally here.
Because it's going to balance out the workload.
Acting BPD Commissioner Rich Worley discussing the execution of the transition during a recent public safety hearing, working with the commanders of each district, establishing posts and moving officers where needed.
We still may not even be done adjusting the posts because we want to continue to look at calls for services and add our constants on how many officers each shift needs.
This redistricting was a requirement by the state. Officials say they determined the lines based on population and calls for service. The biggest change is the reduction of the city's northeastern district. But while the new boundaries are meant to balance resources and enhance response times, Worley admits they won't address the department's staffing crisis. Each district will still be short officers, which law enforcement experts have stressed is highly problematic when it comes to the city's crime fight.
We know that the number of uniformed patrol officers out there is not the only factor that's important in public safety. There are many others, but this one is critical. This one I would dare say is the most critical. It gets to the department's ability to immediately respond to a crisis.
This transition also happening during the height of the summer, a time of year when crime is historically at its highest.
One of the concerns that was brought up by one of my colleagues during budget hearings was just the fact that, new people in a different place, and here we are trying to do this other deployment.
The city just experiencing the largest mass shooting in Baltimore's history, with 30 people shot, 2 of those victims killed. Worley remaining confident the department is prepared and ready.
I think we're in a good place.
Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
The district changes come at a difficult time for city police. It's been just 4 weeks since former Commissioner Michael Harrison stepped down. Despite multiple requests, the police department has refused to release the former commissioner's resignation letter. The mayor and Harrison say his departure had been in the works for weeks before the announcement last month. Acting Commissioner Worley is now in charge of the department, and the mayor has indicated that he plans to keep Worley as his pick to replace Harrison. There are still questions surrounding Worley's nomination. The acting commissioner doesn't live in Baltimore, meaning his confirmation would not be in compliance with the city charter, requiring officials who report directly to the mayor to live in the city. The mayor says Worley is looking for homes in Baltimore.
We're learning the Metro subway link shutdown between Owings Mills and the Johns Hopkins station will now remain in effect through Monday night. This comes after an electrical fire at the Owings Mills station today. MTA will conduct a thorough investigation of the fire. Fox 45 News was live on the air this morning with those disruptions.
Upon their arrival, they found smoke coming from an electrical room, significant amounts of smoke. They immediately called for our hazmat crews and additional assistance.
The bus bridge remains in place to accommodate riders.
An investigation is underway after a deadly fire in West Baltimore. That fire broke out around 8 o'clock in the morning on West Fayette Avenue near Gwynns Falls Park. The fire department and crews arrived to heavy smoke from the 2-story home. Crews were able to attack the fire and it was put out. They found a man inside. He was taken to the hospital where we're told he died.
Maryland State Police have arrested a 16-year-old suspect in connection to a deadly shooting in April in Wicomico County. The suspect is from Salisbury. He was arrested Thursday in Baltimore City and taken to Glen Burnie for processing. The victim, also 16 years old, has been identified as Josiah Johnson.
The job growth is down slightly from last month, according to the Labor Department's June jobs report. The United States added just over 200,000 jobs in June, about 50% less than in May. The unemployment rate fell to 3.6%. That decline in growth reflected on Wall Street today. All 3 indices were down. The Dow saw the biggest drop at just over half a point.
Several companies also taking stock market hits over recent PR moves. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins explains how a 4th of July tweet is turning into a headache for one beloved brand.
Ben & Jerry's challenged to put their money where their tweet is.
I think their compassion is a little bit as frozen as their ice cream.
To commemorate the 4th of July, the American Ice Cream Company tweeting, "It's high time we recognize the U.S. exists on stolen indigenous land and commit to returning it." Critics quick to point out they built their headquarters on stolen indigenous land. We spoke with Chief Don Stevens, leader of the tribe with a historic claim to that land.
Anytime that you were the original stewards of a place or your homeland, you would always want to steward that place if it's possible.
Stevens has yet to talk to Ben & Jerry's about the land question, but says he'd like to. Ben & Jerry's not responding to our request for a comment. Calls for boycotts growing, reminiscent of Bud Light and Target. Both of those companies still struggling to recapture lost revenue following backlash from weighing in on the culture wars.
Every time you join forces with one side, you alienate a lot of other people, and that could have a detrimental impact on your client base.
Target's battles mounting. 7 Republican states' attorneys sending a letter to the CEO warning the company's Pride collection could violate child protection and parental rights laws. On Capitol Hill, House Republicans launching investigations into the environmental and social policies of corporations, including BlackRock and Vanguard. The lawmakers warn these ESG policies could violate antitrust laws. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink distancing himself from the term ESG.
I don't use the word ESG anymore. In my last CEO letter, the phrase ESG was not uttered once because it's been unfortunately politicized.
Fink clarifying while he won't use the term, he's still committed to the ideas behind it. Ideas that will be debated for the foreseeable future. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Taking a look now at the Vox Box top left, the gunman who killed 23 people at an El Paso Walmart in 2019 receives 90 life sentences, one for each federal charge. Those charges include hate crimes since the shootings were racially motivated to target Latinos.
On the top right today marks 100 days since U.S. journalist Evan Gerskovich was detained in Russia. The 31-year-old was arrested in March on espionage charges during a reporting trip. The newspaper and U.S. officials deny the spying claims.
Bottom left, more than 70 people were rescued in Ecuador after a cable car malfunctioned in midair. Cable cars are a common form of transportation in Ecuador's hilly capital. All cable car services suspended pending an investigation.
On the bottom right, you'll be paying more for stamps starting Sunday. The price of first-class stamps is going up from 63 to 66 cents. The Postal Service says the increase offsets operating expenses. USPS lost more than $4 billion this year. Be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com and click on Mobile Alerts Sign Up under the Station tab. You can download the Fox 45 app for your smartphone, search WBFF in your app store.
Amid extreme weather across the country, many homeowners are left to face it without property insurance. Why it's getting harder to find affordable coverage.
And as we head into the night, temperatures drop to the low to mid 70s, staying pretty mild. We'll start off dry tomorrow, but then we have another round of storms. I'll break down the timing and what to expect for Sunday as well, coming up in my full forecast.